He turned $40 into a global fashion empire. Before Shark Tank, before the fame, before suits and millions of dollars, Daymond John was just a kid from Queens. His rise wasn't overnight, it was years of rejection, risk, and relentless work. This is the real story of how Daymond John went from sewing hats in his mother's house to building a brand worth hundreds of millions and becoming one of the most influential entrepreneurs of our time. Daymond Garfield John was born in Brooklyn, New York on February 23rd in 1969. But he grew up in Hollis, Queens, a neighborhood with equal parts of pride and pressure. His mother Margaret was a single mom who worked multiple jobs to support Daymond after his parents divorced when he was only 10 years old. He credits his mother as his biggest influence. She instilled in him two core beliefs that would later shape his empire. Don't wait for opportunities, create them. And always bet on yourself. As he was growing up, money was always tight. Daymond worked from an early age, passing out flyers for $2 an hour and later waiting tables at Red Lobster. These experiences gave him two key lessons: how to interact with people and how little he wanted to work for somebody else. Daymond also had dyslexia, which made school difficult, but he didn't let that hold him back. Instead, he found other ways to express himself. He was immersed in the hip-hop scene exploding around him, watching as local DJs and rappers turned creativity into culture. He began to ask, why can't I do the same? Daymond John's mindset wasn't just about making money, it was about making a movement. He wasn't chasing quick cash, he was chasing purpose. He believed in three things. First, start with what you have. Second, focus on solving problems. And lastly, keep your word, no matter what. Daymond saw how big brands like Nike and Adidas were profiting off the hip-hop culture, but they weren't from the culture. He thought, what if there was a brand that spoke for the people wearing it? Not to them, but from them. That idea became FUBU. For us, by us. But ideas are easy, execution is everything. He wrote down his goals, tracked progress, and created daily routines to maintain focus. He often refers to these habits as setting your own rules, a way to train yourself to think like a CEO, even before you become one. It was 1989, Daymond was 20 years old. One day he noticed wool ski hats were selling in a store for $20. He thought it was overpriced, so he went to a fabric store, bought some wool for $40 and sewed about 80 hats with his neighbor. He sold them on the same day on the street for $10. They made $800 in a few hours. And that was his light bulb moment. The next move was T-shirts. Daymond started printing custom T-shirts with bold slogans, things that responded with young people in his neighborhood. He didn't just guess what would sell, he listened to customer requests. He asked his customers what they wanted, and then he made it. He kept reinvesting every dollar. No fancy office, no investors, just a basement, a few friends, and a brand. He and his friends spent long nights working with basic equipment. Shirts were screen printed by hand, quality checked by eye, and tagged with makeshift labels. Daymond created sample pieces and took them directly to music video sets and local concerts. As demand grew, Daymond ran into a major problem. He couldn't produce fast enough. He turned to his mother, who mortgaged their home for $100,000 to help him grow. This decision was huge. It was super risky. If the business failed, they'd lose everything. But that loan funded the early manufacturing of FUBU's apparel. Daymond turned his home into a mini factory. He and his friends, Keith Perrin, J. Alexander Martin, and Carl Brown worked in shifts, sewing and packaging boxes. Every sale mattered, every customer counted. They set up a detailed inventory system in spiral notebooks. Orders were managed with index cards. It was low tech, but it worked. And here's where Daymond was ahead of his time. Instead of spending money on ads, he gave FUBU clothing to up-and-coming rappers. One of the first big breaks came when LL Cool J, a fellow Queens native, wore a FUBU hat in a Gap commercial, unscripted. The ad ran nationally. Suddenly everyone was asking, what's that hat? FUBU was getting free exposure, thanks to the strategic planning and Daymond's relationship in hip-hop. He understood one thing clearly: brands are built through culture, not billboards. And when LL Cool J rapped "For us, by us" in the ad, Daymond didn't pay a dime for that line. It was loyalty, friendship, and timing. As buzz grew, so did the interest from retailers. In 1995, FUBU landed a $300 order from Macy's. Huge opportunity, but they had a problem. They didn't have enough capital to fulfill the order. Daymond and his team tried to get loans from 27 banks. All of them said no. But rejection didn't stop him. They kept pushing. Eventually, Samsung's textile division agreed to a distribution deal. The deal wasn't just money, it was infrastructure, global access, and a lifeline. This deal likely came off a trade-off. While the exact terms are private, it's known that Daymond didn't own 100% of Fubu. He co-founded the brand with his three partners Keith, Alexander, and Carl, and they split the ownership between them. The Samsung deal most likely further diluted their stake, but it enabled them to scale fast and globally. Now they could scale, and they did. They used Samsung's backing to secure large-scale production runs, negotiate better raw material costs, and establish fulfillment logistics around key markets. Between 1997 and 1999, Fubu exploded. They went from a startup to a streetwear giant, generating over $300 million in annual sales at its peak. They expanded globally. Japan, Europe, South Africa, everywhere where hip-hop went, Fubu followed. Fubu also diversified. They launched jeans, jackets, jerseys, shoes, and accessories. Daymond made a strategic choice: keep the brand limited and exclusive. When retailers begged for more, he'd limit supply. That scarcity created hype. Fubu wasn't just selling clothes. It was selling identity. It was a movement. They started licensing deals, expanded into women's wear, and even collaborated with sports franchises. Marketing became multi-layered: TV, print, and events. By the early 2000s, the fashion market shifted. Streetwear brands were rising and falling quickly. New names entered the scene, and Fubu started to lose its edge. It became too widely available, and the brand that once felt exclusive became mainstream. Daymond made a painful but smart decision. He pulled back. Rather than dilute the brand, he scaled on Fubu's presence in the US, focusing instead on licensing and international markets. Daymond began signing licensing deals, which allowed other companies to manufacture and sell products using the Fubu name in exchange for a percentage of revenue. For example, a footwear company might pay to use the Fubu logo on sneakers they design and distribute. This helped the brand scale quickly without needing to build factories or hire massive new teams. The brand lived on globally, even when it faded from the US spotlight. Daymond also shifted their business model to focus on IP, intellectual property management. Instead of producing everything in-house, he concentrated on protecting and monetizing Fubu's trademarks, logos, and brand identity. That meant licensing the IP across different categories: apparel, accessories, and international products, while ensuring the brand stayed consistent and protected legally. In 2009, Daymond joined ABC's Shark Tank. The show gave him a new platform and new business opportunities. On Shark Tank, he wasn't just an investor, he was a mentor. He looked for hustle, for clarity, for founders who knew their customers. Some of his top deals include Bomba Socks, a social impact company that gives a pair to the homeless for every pair sold. Bubba's Q Boneless Ribs, a family food business with high growth potential. Most Bows, a bow tie company founded by a 12-year-old entrepreneur. However, not all his deals unfolded smoothly. In 2023, Daymond faced public criticism and a legal dispute with Al Bubba Baker. Baker and his family claimed that they only received a small fraction of the company's revenue, accusing Daymond of excluding them from critical financial decisions. The situation escalated into a legal battle, and a federal judge issued a restraining order against the Bakers for violating a non-disparagement agreement. Daymond defended his role, stating he was a non-managing partner who had lost money on the venture and was unfairly treated. Still, the controversy sparked a broader discussion about power, transparency, and fairness in business partnerships. Some critics and fans online have described Daymond's negotiation style as aggressive or ruthless, especially when he pushes for significant equity in Shark Tank deals. Yet others simply view him as a sharp businessman who plays hardball in a high-stakes environment. He's also written multiple books, including Display of Power, The Power of the Broke, Rise and Grind. All focus on one message: you don't need money to start, you need mindset. Today, Daymond is worth an estimated $350 million US. He lives in New York and maintains a relatively private personal life despite his public success. He has 3 daughters and is married to Heather Terrace since 2018. Family plays a central role in his life. He often speaks about the importance of being present as a father, especially after surviving a battle with thyroid cancer in 2017. While he's not flashy for flashy's sake, Daymond does enjoy the rewards of his hard work. He's been seen driving luxury cars like Bentleys or Rolls-Royces, but he also emphasizes smart financial habits and long-term planning. His lifestyle reflects balance, success without losing sight of where you came from. From suiting hats and queens to building a fashion empire and becoming a shark, Daymond John's story is a masterclass in hustle, brand building, and belief. He didn't wait for permission, he didn't chase trends, he built a legacy. If you found this story inspiring, subscribe for more real stories of financial success.